Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So this happened like 5 years ago. Basically, my buddy and I got super into surfing in high school, and we would go pretty much every day. His mom would usually drop us off, we would wrap our phones in our shirts, bury them in the sand a bit, and place our towels on top. This was an everyday routine. So one day we go surfing in this sketchy area. Not so sketchy that we shouldn't have been surfing there, but it would have been way smarter to not bring our phones. Anyway, we kinda get screwed up, brought our phones, went surfing, and when we got back to the shore, the phones were gone. We freaked out for a little while, then asked some people nearby if they saw anything. They said no, but they were nice enough to let us check Find My iPhone, as well as call his mom to come pick us up. By the time we checked Find My iPhone, the phones were already about 5 miles away. We called his mom, told her what happened, and expected to just go home sad, but no. His mom was seriously a legend. Once she picked us up, she had us quickly log into Find My iPhone on her phone, and the pursuit began. We literally drove for maybe 2 hours out of the way until we finally started getting near the guy. The thing is, no matter how close we got, the phone was always on the move. Plus, it's not the most accurate tracker in the world, so it's only within like 500 feet of the phone, so the chase went on forever, and we had no idea what car we were following. I don't remember all of the details perfectly, but at some point during the chase, her phone died, so she hauled herself off the freeway, ran like 2 lights, and made an illegal U-turn. None of this was dangerous, by the way, like nobody was there, but it was still pretty cool, to be honest. And quickly pulled up at a 7-Eleven where we brought a car phone charger. The chase continued. We followed the Find My iPhone tracker for maybe 2 or 3 hours total until finally the thief stopped. We pulled up where we assumed was the right stop, and it was some random taco shop. We went inside, looked around, but only a couple people were in there, and they all looked like they were with family. So we didn't think it was any of them. And that's when we went outside and saw some guy sitting at the bus stop with a large duffel bag. We immediately assumed it was him. He looked pretty sketchy. So we called the local police, and they said they would send a car to our spot. The funniest part of all this was that the cop was full on like, "Do not approach the guy, just wait." But my buddy's mom, being the goofy person she was, came up with seriously the dumbest plan. But we all loved it at the moment, so we went with it. What she did was she casually walked up to the guy and was like, "Hey, I lost my phone. Do you know what time it is?" It was seriously the funniest thing ever. My buddy and I couldn't help but start cracking up. Anyway, the guy was all hostile and just said no. So she came back to the car and we just waited, laughing about what just happened. From that point on, as the guy was waiting for the next bus, he kept looking back at us every couple seconds. It was kinda scary, but overall really funny. A few minutes later, a cop car passed by on the opposite side of the road, turned on its lights, and made a quick U-turn driving towards the guy. I kid you not, he got up and freaking bolted as fast as he could across the street. The cop was in a car though, so he caught him immediately. He handcuffed the guy, brought him over to us, and the cop was like, "Do you have these kids' phones?" The guy, acting innocent and pissed, was like, "No, why would I steal these kids' phones?" The cop then opened his duffel bag, and wouldn't you know it, out pops our phones. The guy starts rambling that he bought the phones off some random guy, and the cop jokingly said something like, "That's some bad luck. Maybe don't buy phones from some guy at the beach." He ended up getting arrested, and we got our phones back after a 3-hour chase. So this story goes back a good few years. So I have been bullied since I was 4. I'm now 17. And the bullying stopped a year ago when I was 16. I have always had to deal with my brother, who has brain injuries. I don't say damage because his brain isn't technically damaged. It results in hard times at home, and I have moderate depression and anxiety. So I always just thought the bullying was my fault and kind of accepted it. I was the target of my preschool, primary school, and high school. Nobody wanted to be seen with me. So this girl, the entitled bully, has been the main issue and has always caused issues. She used to assault her younger brother, her mother, the entitled mother, and her dad. Her dad is a very nice guy and never did anything wrong. For context, the bully was always at the top of the pyramid, the most popular girl. Everything went her way. The entitled mother always took her side. And all the school said, "Our students would never do that." And if I retaliated, I would end up in the wrong. All incidents with her were verbal and physical abuse and ended up leading to slander, lying and spreading rumors against me and my mom. I ended up getting used to all of this, but my mental state still spiraled more than I realized. My mom ended up drinking to cope. She was never an alcoholic, didn't drink huge amounts, and was never a bad mother. The entitled mother soon spread lies that I was abused at home and that my mom was an alcoholic, and she began harassing and assaulting me again when I was about 16. I had enough. One day, on the bus, I overheard her and another boy, a foster child and an absolute brat, talking about me, my mom, dad, brother, and grandparents. All bad things. I turned around and told him to shut up. This was taking place on a public bus to the high school. The entitled bully says, "This conversation doesn't concern you. You're talking about me and my family. Shut up or share the conversation with the bus." The boy says, "Well, we were talking about how your brother is an R-word. Your mom is an alcoholic. Your dad is an abusive husband. And your grandparents are delusional." None of this was true. I say, "Well, you can talk. Your parents did cocaine, and your siblings rammed a pole through your thick skull. You have no leg to stand on when it comes to a loving family. So scram off." This boy had also done awful things to me. The boy lowered his head and went silent. The bully tells me, "You can't say that." "Well, you can't spread rumors and lies about my family." "Yes, I can, because it's true." I was shaken and ready to punch her. I didn't though. My memory is pretty bad at this point, and the argument raged on for a while before, "At least my mom loves me and isn't an alcoholic." I wasn't taking that. "Well, at least I'm loved more than food." "Are you calling my mom fat?" "Well, if the boot fits, but let's be honest, it probably wouldn't." She begins ranting and I turn away and start playing on my phone. We get off the bus and the entitled bully follows me around school before listens and hunts me down during break and lunch. Home time arrived, and I got to go home on a school minibus because I explained the situation to my head of year, who always knew my situations. The next day or two, I am back on a bus, nothing happens. On a trip home, all is fine until we get off at the same spot. The entitled bully grabbed a worm, screamed something at me, and rammed it down my shirt. I screamed and pushed her away since I have a phobia of bugs and small creatures, and dislike being touched on my neck by people. She yells, "You coward!" I walk home ignoring the situation and jumping around to get the worm out of my shirt. I get in and explain all this to my mom. She was aware of the situation on the bus and all the years prior. One Sunday, the entitled bully walked past my house. My mom was fed up with telling the entitled mother or the teachers, and admittedly she had been to a wine festival an hour beforehand. She wasn't drunk, but she did smell of alcohol. My mom saw the entitled bully walking past my house, dashed out and screamed at her for the past years and recent events. Later that evening, we got a call from her and her entitled mother saying some stupid things and how she had called the police. My mom hung up and paid no attention. 2 days later, the police came to our door. I wasn't worried in the slightest. We hadn't done anything wrong. We listened calmly to what they had to say, and I explained everything in the past years and all my school years. They said that, judging by our body language compared to theirs, they knew who was lying. A few days later, we got a phone call saying the entitled Brat had a black mark, a criminal mark that will be on her records forever. And the next day, we got one police officer visiting to explain everything and give me a sorry card written by the entitled Brat. It's now in my attic. A few months later, that boy from earlier also got a plaque mark. It was a sweet revenge for me. They had criminal marks, and I didn't. For a quick background, I babysit in my home sometimes as a side job. I have 2 cats and 1 dog. One of my cats is a super sweet tuxedo cat named Bella, and she also works as my personal therapy animal. She would rather run away than comfort someone, so not a lot of people who know her often expect her to be capable of exploding into a hellish rage. One kid had to find out the hard way though. As far as I know, he has been respectful to kids since then. This kid, who we will call Spoiled Brat, really lives up to his nickname. He was probably one of the worst kids I've ever had to deal with, and I'm usually pretty relaxed when it comes to babysitting. He was always stealing things, making messes, and throwing tantrums over literally nothing. I'm pretty sure he has some kind of mental disability, but since he was only 6 at the time, I never really wanted to voice my concerns. But out of all the things this boy did whenever he stayed with me, the only thing he knew could push my buttons was hurting my animals. He would pull my cat's tails and ears, kick them, chase them, and I got him throwing rocks at them more than once. And my poor dog, who had a part-time job visiting kids in hospitals, had to deal with this little terror too. Because of his training, when he got tired of the kid, he just left the house and disappeared up in the woods until he heard the kid's parents arrive and take him away. I felt so bad for Duke, my dog, that I ended up teaching him the time go to phrase, which is our code for the spoiled brat is here, so you better go before he sees you. And I would even leave the shed door open so Duke had a place with water and a bed until the kid left. I had spoken to the parents many times about the kid's behavior and how it was unacceptable in my house, but if it continued, I would raise my rate, which was already low to begin with, in order to pay for damages and possibly even vet bills. The parents said they would work on this with the spoiled brat, but every time he came back, there was no obvious progress. One day, I had settled the spoiled brat in for his nap and was working on an online certification class when I heard him get up to use the bathroom. At first, I thought nothing of it, since that was normally part of his routine. But what happened 5 minutes later scared the daylights out of me. I hear an ungodly howl from the bathroom, and I'm still not sure if it was Bella or the spoiled brat that made it. But the kid comes running to me, his hands, chest, face, and even his back are scratched and bloody. And Bella comes after him, snarling and spitting in a crazed rage. Her entire body is soaked right up to her ears, her eyes are the size of saucers, and her nose and one of her paws is actually bleeding. I quickly usher Bella into my room, where she takes refuge under my bed. I call my vet and say I have an animal emergency, but I can't take her on the half-mile drive to his office. Luckily, he says he can send his assistant, and I hang up and deal with the spoiled brat's wounds. Of course, the kid is wailing and screaming and in a great deal of pain, and I'm doing my best to stay calm and not jump to conclusions. But it's rather difficult not to, after how abusive he's been. I just remind myself to tend to his wounds first before I find out what happened, and do my best to stay composed. I'm going to explain really quick that I do have a camera system in my garage, where the bathroom is located. From where the camera is, you can see into the bathroom, but you can't see the toilet, so a child can use the bathroom in privacy. My doors have locks, so whenever I babysit, the door is rigged to stay open to prevent a child from locking himself/herself inside and potentially hurting themselves or causing damage. The camera was actually originally intended to catch any burglars that come into my garage, but it came in handy in this situation as well. At first, I didn't think about my hidden camera. I made sure the spoiled brat was on the couch resting, his wounds dressed, and a glass of milk with painkillers on a table for him. Then I went to the bathroom. The sight that greeted me was even more shocking than the spoiled brat's wounds and Bella's rage. There was fur all over the bathroom, bloody paw prints on the wall, and blood on the floor too. As I stepped through all of this to the sink, I nearly went into a fury myself. The sink, which is about 1.5 feet deep and about 2 feet wide, designed for shops, was almost completely full of steaming hot water. So hot it actually burned my finger when I tested it. And it had cat fur and blood in it, as well as a pair of scissors. I was horrified. I'm not sure what the spoiled brat was trying to do to my cat, but it was then I remembered my hidden camera, and I rushed to get the footage. As I watched, I became so angry I was tempted to walk out and bend the spoiled brat over my knee myself. In fact, I wished I could slap that kid silly, but I knew this would be better handled in a court situation, where this kid can get the help he seriously needs. The footage showed that spoiled brat coaxing Bella into the bathroom with a handful of food. After filling the sink almost to the brim, he lunged and grabbed her by the neck. And at this point, she's already struggling and clawing at him. He forced her head underwater, and in the footage you could see her tail and legs flailing as she tried to escape. Somehow she got free of him, and though I expected her to run at this point, instead she tore into the spoiled brat like a wild animal. As he tried to grab her and force her back into the sink, she clawed his face, tore at his chest, and then raked her way down his back. All the while he's trying to get a hold of her tail. I am stunned when he grabs a pair of hair-trimming scissors off the shelf and runs after her with them. But I think the pain set in because he dropped the scissors, panicked for a moment, threw the scissors in the sink, and ran inside, with a furious black cat chasing after him. I made careful note that Bella immediately stopped attacking him once she was out of his grasp, and didn't touch him after he dropped the scissors and ran inside. The vet's assistant arrived and was as shocked as I was about the situation. She treated Bella gently and gave my cat some mild sedatives while I explained everything that happened. She was angry too, and she said she would happily support me in court with this clear evidence of abuse. Bella had swallowed a lot of water, and one of her claws had actually gotten ripped out in her mad dash through the garage to escape the spoiled brat. She'd been stressed and jumpy for a very long time, and I prayed this would not affect her job as my therapy animal. The parents were called once everything was somewhat in order, and I didn't even give them a chance to be angry. I told them, "Pick up your kid, I'll see you in court." The court case wasn't even a challenge. With my camera footage and the testimony from the vet and the vet assistant, I won more than enough money. I'm not going to say how much. For damages, vet bills, and an extra month's pay back so I could find a new client to work for. In addition, the spoiled brat would not be allowed to have pets of any kind until he had gone through multiple different stages of therapy for his behavior. I would be registered as an animal abuser in case future incidents happened when he became an adult. Some of you might ask why I tolerated it for so long. And mostly it was because all the times I tried to tell the parents to curb his behavior, I was nervous about kicking up dust or causing trouble, and I couldn't afford to drop a client at a time. But after this horrible experience, I will never tolerate such behavior again, regardless of how much I'm getting paid to deal with it. As for Bella, she was relatively unaffected by the incident, and still remains her sweet and lovable self. She still enjoys having her seasonal bath and will intrude on my privacy whenever she wants. But I hope the spoiled brat learned a very big lesson. He saw Bella as nothing but prey, and I don't think he ever expected Bella to turn the tables the way she did. I also hope that the kid will get his life straight and learn to be respectful to both animals and people. Next time he feels like he can treat an animal like garbage, I hope he'll remember the terrifying rage a seemingly harmless house cat unleashed on him. His parents also had to write a formal apology to me for allowing their son to behave that way, which was an order given by the judge. Reading it was very amusing because I just knew they hated writing every single word. Edit. A couple people asked for what the apology letter said. I don't remember the entire thing, as I have it filed away in case of need for future reference, but I can sorta remember the general gist of the letter. Now just imagine the parents probably grinding their teeth and trying to refrain from getting themselves into more trouble and you'll hear the tone of the apology much better.
Dear Miss X, we apologize for our son's behavior, and we sincerely hope Bella will recover quickly. His behavior was by no means acceptable, nor was our lack of attempt to prevent it. We also apologize for the damages in your home and the stress this has caused you. We also recognize your tolerance for our kid and are sorry you didn't speak out sooner, so such an incident could be avoided. We hope both you and your cat will recover and never have to deal with a situation like this again. Our formal apologies and best wishes.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.